All right, let's go ahead and go over this. So for problem number 1, just like we did yesterday in the Nearpod, you need to identify the inverse operation. So what is the inverse operation, guys? Addition. We are going to add, and we are going to add 2 1/5 to both sides. We are going to add 2 1/5 on the left side so that they can cancel out. Okay, we're trying to get that x by itself. And then we're going to add 2 1/5 on the right side. So then we will type in -6 4/9 plus 2 1/5. And we're going to get that x will be equal to a -4 and 11/45. Okay, so there's our final answer for problem number 1. Make sure that you are utilizing those calculators. Yes? Pardon?
Would it be if it was just like you put in the calculator, would it just be -191/45?
Yeah, that would be an improper fraction. Okay, so if you wanted to convert it into a mixed number, then it would be the -4 and 11/45. Okay, for problem number 2, what inverse operation do we need to perform here? Division. Division. We're going to divide both sides by 1/8. We're going to divide both sides by 1/8. So the 1/8 are going to cross off. We're left with x by itself. And then we're going to do 3/4 divided by 1/8, and that's going to give us 6. So x will equal 6 for problem number 2. For problem number 3, what is the inverse operation? Addition. So we are going to add -2 to both sides. We're going to add a -2 to both sides. These -2's are going to cancel each other out. X is now by itself. And then in your calculator, you can do -18 plus -2, and you'll get -20. -20. All right, for problem 4, what is the inverse operation going to be? Subtraction. We are going to subtract 10 from both sides, because again, we're focusing on what's paired with the variable. Instead of adding 10, we're going to subtract 10. So here's where a lot of you make a mistake. When you get to that part, you know it's subtraction, but then you get to your calculator and you're like 10 minus 6. But that's the wrong order. You're supposed to subtract 10, so it should say minus 10. And when I kept telling you guys that yesterday, some of you just said, oh, okay, and you would hit -10 and then plus 6 at the end. It's still not the same. You've got to do 6 minus 10. 6 minus 10, and you'll get -4. So x is going to be equal to -4. Okay, number 5. Multiplication is what you need to do. The inverse operation is multiplication. You're going to multiply both sides by -2. You're going to multiply both sides by -2. So we're going to multiply here by -2 as well. And a negative times a negative is a positive. Good. And 8 times 2 is 16. So you get positive 16. So x is equal to 16. Okay, any questions? All right, we're going to move out of one step, and we're now going to go into two-step equations. Two-step equations means you've got 2 inverse operations that you're going to be performing. Okay. So real quickly, let's write down these rules. So this is your notes. We're going to write two-step equations. To solve, the very first thing that you're always going to do, step 1, you're going to do the inverse of the constant, which is the number by itself. By adding or subtracting. You're either going to add or subtract. So you're going to do the inverse of the constant. So if the constant was being added, you're going to subtract the constant. If the constant was being subtracted, you're going to add the constant. Noah, head up. Just because you can't write doesn't mean you can't pay attention. Step 2. For step 2, you're then going to do the inverse of the coefficient. Right, you're going to get rid of the coefficient or divisor in some cases. Okay, and that's the number that is attached with the variable. So it's either going to look like a number x, or you might have x over a number. You might have a number next to the x, like side by side with the x, or you might have x over a number. So you're going to do the inverse operation to that coefficient by multiplying or dividing. So you want to get rid of the constant first. So you're going to perform addition or subtraction first. Then you're going to perform multiplication or division second. Turn, huh? I'm already turning. Go ahead and turn to page 47. So for here, let's go ahead and go over each one of the steps with a practice problem. So if we have the problem 2x plus 3 is equal to 23. 2x plus 3 is equal to 23. So we're going to go through each one of the steps. So step 1, we're going to use addition or subtraction to move the constant. So the constant in this problem is right here. This is our constant, a plus 3. So what is the inverse operation to adding 3? Subtracting 3. So we're going to go ahead and subtract 3. Now, instead of subtracting 3 on just one side, we have to make sure to do it on the other side of the equal sign as well. So we're going to subtract 3 from 23. Make sure you're writing this down step by step because, again, you're going to have a Google slide tomorrow, and you're going to have to show me typing out step by step what you're doing, just like we do in the notes. If you don't do it step by step like we do in the notes, then you won't get credit. Is that clear? So just like we did with the one-step equations, you're now going to do it for two-step equations. So the 2x is going to come straight down. The 2x is going to come straight down. 23 minus 3 is going to leave us with 20. We're not done because x is not by itself. The whole idea is to figure out what does x equal. Okay, right now I know 2x is equal to 20. I need to know what x is equal to. And that's when you get into step 2, which is to get rid of the coefficient. And here's my coefficient. Right now, my coefficient is being multiplied with the 2. So the inverse operation is to go ahead and divide by 2. So I'm going to divide by 2 on the left side so that they can go ahead and simplify. and that's going to give me x by itself. But then I have to divide by 2 on the right side as well. And 20 divided by 2 is going to give me 10. So we get x is equal to 10. And then you can plug this back in to see if that's true. You can do 2 times 10 plus 3. 2 times 10 is 20. 20 plus 3 is 23. Okay, so the nice thing about the algebra unit, the equations unit, is it's self-checking. You work it out, and then you can check to see if what you got works. Is it still a true solution? Okay, we've got x over 2 plus 5 is equal to negative 2. X over 2 plus 5 is equal to negative 2. Again, step one states that we need to focus on the constant. So instead of adding 5, we're going to do what? Subtract. We're going to subtract 5 from both sides. The 5s are going to get crossed off. X over 2 still has to come down. It's still going to be x over 2 equals, and then a negative 2 minus 5. Negative 2 minus 5 gives us negative 7. Negative 2 minus 5 gives us negative 7. Please, guys, I'm begging you, use your calculators. I need you to use your calculators for every one of these, because I don't want you getting it wrong because you were stubborn and didn't use your calculator to check. I need to know that if you're getting it wrong because you don't know the steps, not because you're not using your calculator. Okay? Alright, so x over 2 is equal to negative 7. Now we need to perform the inverse operation here. We need to get x by itself. So instead of dividing by 2, we're going to multiply both sides by 2. We're going to multiply both sides by 2. So the 2's are going to go ahead and cancel out. Notice x is still there though. X is now by itself. And then a negative 7 times 2 is negative 14. Alright, 2n minus 15 is equal to negative 29. 2n minus 15 is equal to negative 29. Who can raise their hand and tell me what is the first inverse operation we're going to do? Mary? Very good. We're going to add 15 to both sides. So we're going to have a plus 15 with the 15. Those are going to cancel out. So I'm going to put a box around them and X them out so I know that they're gone. And then we're going to add 15 on the other side as well. Okay? So what's going to be here on the left side? 2n, right? The 2n is going to come straight down. We have 2n. What is negative 29 plus 15? Negative 14. Good. Negative 14. All right, what's our next step? What are we going to do now? How do we isolate the variable? What's the inverse operation? Division. Good. So when I say what do we do now, you would say the next step, divide by what? 2. Divide by 2. So our next step is to divide by 2. Okay, when you guys tell me, oh, do inverse operation. Yeah, but what is the inverse operation? I need to know that you know what the inverse operation is and that you know what numbers you're using. So we're dividing both sides here by 2. So the 2's are going to cancel out. We're left with just the n. N is now isolated. Negative 14 divided by 2 gives us what? Negative 7. Good. Negative 14 divided by 2 is a negative 7. Let's try this one. Go ahead and try this one on your own. Okay, who wants to tell me what we need to do first? Lexus? Okay, so yeah, you do 8 minus 8, but you don't do 8 minus 17, you do 17 minus 8. You got to be careful about the order, okay? If you did 8 minus 17, you'd get a negative value. You have to do 17 minus 8, that's going to give you a positive value. So be very careful about how you say it, okay? Okay, so yes, we're going to subtract 8 from both sides first. We're going to subtract 8 on both sides first. Okay? Once we've done that, then that positive x over 4 comes down. And it's now going to be equal to, what's 17 minus 8? 9. Okay, what's our next step then? Emily? Huh? Multiply both sides by 4. Very good. So we're going to multiply both sides by 4. The 4's are going to get canceled out. X is now isolated. 9 times 4 is going to give us 36. Okay, go ahead and get that copied and then go to your next page, page 48. And we'll do another. Okay, I want to do this one with you because there is a common mistake that people make. Who thinks they can tell me what's the inverse operation we're going to do right now? What do you think, Mary? So Mary thinks we're going to add, right? Mary says we're going to add 5. So let me ask you, if I add 5 plus 5, am I going to get rid of the 5s? No. So that minus sign that minus sign does not belong to the 5. We're not subtracting a 5 in this problem, are we? We're subtracting a 3n. So when we want to get rid of the constant, you have to focus on what is in front of the constant. So in our previous problems, we had an addition or subtraction sign in front of it. Here, we don't have anything in front of it. When we don't have something in front of it, what automatically is there? Not a 0. What kind of sign is it? Is it positive or negative? Positive. So it kind of has like a little imaginary plus sign in front of it. So in order for me to get rid of that positive 5, what would be the inverse operation to have to do then? Subtraction. Good. We would have to subtract 5 from both sides. So the common mistake that people make is they see that subtraction sign and they automatically think, oh, I have to add. But if we were to have added 5, we would not have gotten rid of the 5s, because 5 plus 5 is not 0. 5 plus 5 is 10. So you just would have added a new number in. So I'm subtracting 5, and I'm going to subtract 5 from here as well. 20 minus 5 is going to give us 15. So now we have 15 is equal to, here's the next part that people make a mistake on. The next part, people like to just put 3 in. But it's not just 3 in. It's negative 3n. That minus sign was not removed. So therefore, it has to come down as well. Well, when that minus sign comes down and there's nothing in front of it, it now acts like a negative sign. So we have 15 is equal to negative 3n. Inverse operation is to divide. And we're going to divide both sides by negative 3. The negative and the 3 will cancel out so that we're left with just the n. And then 15 divided by negative 3 gives us negative 5. Okay, let's take a look at this one. Negative 2 plus 4n is equal to negative 6. Which number up here is the constant? The negative 2. The negative 2 is the constant. It's the number that's isolated, right? It's the number that stands alone, that's by itself. So we need to focus on getting rid of that negative 2. So how am I going to get rid of a negative 2? What's the inverse? Huh? Addition. But this was addition. But remember, that addition sign belongs to the 4n. That negative sign belongs to the 2. It acts almost like a minus sign. So we're going to have a plus 2 because we want to get rid of it. And we're going to plus 2 on the other side. Okay, that positive 4n comes down. Do I have to write the positive sign? No. So I can just write 4n. And negative 6 plus 2 gives me a negative 4. Okay, now our next step is to get n by itself. We're going to divide both sides by 4. And what is negative 4 divided by 4? Negative 4 divided by 4 is negative 1. Okay, I want you guys to try this one on your own. Okay, let's go over this real quick. So my constant is the 5. It happens to be a positive 5. So we're going to subtract 5 from both sides to get rid of 5. 5 minus 5 would give me 0. I'm going to subtract 5 from the 19. That's going to give me a 14. That's going to give me 14. Negative 7x is going to come down into the problem. That's a negative sign that has to now come down. We'll then divide both sides by negative 7 to get x is equal to negative 2. X is equal to negative 2. You're going to go ahead and get your computers real quickly. There's a ticket out the door that must be completed.